Going live. All right, we're live
I
here.
look I look overexposed.
Well, you always look like that.
I know.
You should try more sun. Man, so this is called being a professional. For folks that are in or tuning in or watching this on the replay, we started about 5 minutes late, and this is the new me, right? This is the post birthday me. So I come in, everything's set last night, right? I thought, normally the night before, this is my routine for the night before anything, right? The night before, I'm like, okay, let me look at my calendar. What do I have in the morning? Let me make sure everything's set. Okay, oh, I got a critique. Let me go double check everything. Is everything good? Are the images? Okay, now I can go rest, right? And then I get up in the morning and the YouTube event that you guys are watching on YouTube right now, I couldn't connect to it because the what was it? The date was wrong on the YouTube event. So anyway, what I did was I just said, you know what? I'm a leaf on the wind. So let me go make my coffee. This is like 5 minutes still, right? I'm like, you know what? I uttered a few expletives and then I said, you know what? I'm gonna go make my coffee. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna solve it. I came back, logged on with you, and then I solved it, and here we are. Look at that. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a leaf on
Good
the
stuff.
wind.
Every time. It's every time.
It's always something, man. It's always something. And this is the Frederick paring everything down to Occam's razor level so that there's
Yeah.
very few opportunities for the Gremlins or Murphy to jump in here, but they still find their way in. They
They
still
do.
find it. Yeah, all the time.
It's really a complex system, right? I mean, like the idea of getting all of the video back and forth, the audio connected, the I've been having audio issues all week. I've been having these weird feedback. I mean, like I use the same system that we've recorded for probably a year now, haven't changed a damn thing, and all of a sudden I start getting like zzzz, and
Right?
what is it?
Yeah. I know what it is. It's a combination of software updates and failing hardware, right? So like a cable, that you move
Yep.
something in your studio that you haven't moved in a while, and suddenly that cable has become brittle for some reason, and of course it's not going to tell you. It just decides I'm not going to work next time he tries to use this thing I'm
Yeah,
connected to.
I know.
You're
I know.
screwed. You got to troubleshoot for half a day to find it. I thought today was going to be that day. I thought I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend a half a day trying to figure out why Ecamm doesn't connect to YouTube, and there we go. There goes Monday. December 5th, half of it gone to the Gremlins. But
Yeah, yeah.
it
Big kudos to Ecamm though. And they're not sponsoring or anything, but you and I used to do all this stuff through Skype and all these other complicated, magical software connections, and then Skype came along and said, I mean, Ecamm came along and said, yeah, we're going to add an interview feature, and we're like, well, that one's going to suck like the rest, and
yeah,
it doesn't,
it doesn't. It
and
works.
it's made life so much easier.
It has. It literally has saved me. I would go out on a limb and say that it has saved me thousands of dollars in terms of just time and stress. I mean, that using Ecamm, and we'll start the critique in just a second, folks. But that the pieces of hardware that you and I have discussed that Ecamm has removed from my flow, like literally a second Skype computer using
Hmm.
all sorts of technologies to bring the Skype feed into the other Mac and do all this stuff is now right here. Easy.
Yep.
Easy.
Yep. Good stuff.
All right. Are you ready to do this critique, man? We got a bunch of images to go through.
Yes.
This week's critique, number 205, one of the last ones of 2022, was titled Critters and Bugs, or Critters and or Bugs, but critters, generally speaking. And we got some. And this is interesting. Some of the organisms that have been submitted. I wouldn't say that they're critters, but the word critter is subjective, right? So
Well, we'll talk about them when we get there.
yes, we shall. So how about we get there, Troy Miller? Let's
Let's
dive
do
in.
it.
You ready? Okay, here we
Yeah, because
go.
I'm feeling ornery, and we could just keep talking smack without doing a critique.
Oh,
So.
okay. All right. So Troy said he's feeling ornery. Strap in because Troy is going into, I don't know, shock jock mode or one of those where he has no filter. So let's see.
Uh
Let's see.
oh. Uh oh.
Let's
Don't.
see. The real Troy Miller's here now. Let him
We're
out,
gonna
Troy.
try.
Let your troll
Hang on. Let
flag
me.
fly.
I'm biting my tongue. I'll wipe the. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, man, I don't think there's much that you could say that would be shocking to many people right now, based
No.
on based on current events in the news. I mean, you could pretty much say anything and be like, oh, whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, that's another show. Let's dive in. Let's dive in to the critique. Here we are on the TWiP This Week in Photo membership site. And we're going to start with Thomas, one of 6 cheetah cubs at the San Diego Safari Park in 2016. Look at that.
Nice. Nice. For some reason, when I resize these, this is just how this is going to go. It makes it like 4 million times bigger than I need it to be, and I can
See?
only see the head of this little cub. So
Oh my
I'm
God.
very.
It's end of
I'm,
year, man. End of year bugs are get it in where they fit in. That's what's happening.
so Thomas, I love this shot, and I think that it's super cute, and I would say this is a critter, right? I would not definitely not a bug, but I would go critter on this one. Um, I love the composition, and I love the emotion, and I like the tongue and sort of the comedic value of this. What I would suggest is that we need a little bit better dodging and burning happening, where the cub is in shadow and everything else is sort of the same tone. So I would do some dodging and burning, right? So bring up the cub's face, push the background down, uh, bring a little tiny bit of light into the eyes. I'm sure you've got latitude in, your file. So I would work with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of non-critter in this shot and very little critter in this shot. I get we want to show the environment that the little cub is in, but I think we could do with a little less environment, I think, like less of that log, maybe a little bit less of
Right.
that background, just punch in. And like you said, Troy, I love because when I look at this shot, I'm like, oh, look at the little critter, and he's licking his nose. That's what I want to see, not log, right? So I
Right.
want to see less of that and more of the face. And like you said, on the eyes are windows to the soul, right? So I want to see more detail, make those eyes pop a little bit, like you said, a little dodging on the eyes would bring those out. And maybe
Right.
even just there may be a slight vignette added to this, either naturally from the lens or in post. But in either case, if you punch in a little bit and just add just a little sprinkling of vignette salt on it, just to bring us into the face of this critter.
Vignette salt.
Yeah, trademark.
You-
Yeah. on, like, especially if you pop the eyes, like you were saying, with a little clarity, a little dodging on there, and then focus us even more on the face and let us see that
Yeah.
tongue, because that's what's interesting. I'm not saying crop it like right on there like a passport photo for the cub, but just a little bit, just so as just you're saying to the viewer, this log is not important right now. You're telling me that
Yeah.
this log is important, and the background out of focus, because it's out of focus because of bokeh, it's telling me that that's not important, but then
Right.
it's the
Right.
contradiction is, why is there so much of it, right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Technically, I mean, what you're saying, the subject is the log because it's the best lit, it's the sharpest, and it's the most forefront in the image.
mhm.
And we want to change that by all the suggestions that you just said. So
Yeah, yep. But cool, I love
nice.
the shot. Yeah, this makes me want that 7200 I've been saving for. So
Get it.
I'm getting it. Hopefully Santa will bring it, but
Uh,
it's either the 7200 or that 14 to 30 or both. So,
well, then there's the 24 to 120 and the 105 macro
oh God.
and the 21/8. Don't forget any of those.
You have
Then
all
there's the
those. You
I
have all
do.
those. I don't need all of those. You need, like, with a capital N, all of those, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, you're doing weddings, right? So you have a professional use for those lenses for that glass. Like I don't.
You could shoot a wedding with a 24 to 70 and a 70 to 200 all day and never have a bad day. But it's nice having all the other stuff. Like I need the 100 to 400. I'm just waiting on that one.
Ugh. Okay, well, this is a different show, so we should do a different show that's targeted at helping Frederick make his lens selections, right? So, which we've talked about ad nauseum,
Right.
but we need to
Right.
talk more about that. Let's move up to our next shot, and this is from Tabitha Silver. She says this bee was.
Tabitha.
Hey Tabitha, she says this bee was unable to fly due to wet wings in my garden. Spring of 2021. I cropped the original photo to the square original photo in the comments. There's the original photo right there. Yes, much better cropped.
Yeah.
But maybe
Yeah.
a little bit too much cropped. So let's go into this one. Give me your thoughts on this one, then we'll maybe touch base on the uncropped version as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the wet wings or not. I think because he just didn't have a mask on him, he didn't want to go out. So I think he's just going to hang out in the garden. Um, because I
Don't
don't
get me
see
started. Don't
I
get
don't
me
see the
started because
wet
my
wing.
default state is the state that you're in, right? That's my
Oh,
default. You're just poking
wait,
the fire right now.
hang on. I got to turn on my under the desk fan. Okay, there we go.
That's the thing. I just
Um,
tried to turn mine on. It won't come on. See, it's Monday.
mine works. Oh, it's so much better. It's getting hot
uh,
in here now.
yes.
Um, sorry, Tabitha, on your image. Um, so yeah, it's interesting having seen all three of the images that you've provided. I think that the third in the row is actually my favorite crop because I think that at this type of crop, the camera resolution is just not really holding out.
Yeah.
And although compositionally it's a nice crop, we have to work with the limits of our gear, and the phone just doesn't have that much resolution at this crop, right? So I think you needed to get closer with the camera, and then you could get a crop like this. And I think going with a looser crop would be great.
Hmm.
The third image that you have in there that shows a little bit of that flower, I think is a better crop. And I think you could dodge and burn that to sort of push down the background and bring out the bee a little bit. If you were using something like Photoshop for the phone or Snapseed or anything else, right? You could certainly tweak that and push some of the background down.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. This is my favorite crop because this one, if we go through these, this first one, this is more of a dictionary photo, right? Of this bee, right?
Right.
Whatever. Bius flyastingumus, right? You would see the definition of bee next to this one. Then you move down to this one, and this one's more. It's about the environment that the bee is on this
Right.
particular plant, and it's telling the story of it's pollination, and these plants are about to flower or whatever. But then when you get to the, like you said, Troy, to the third crop, now this is telling more of the story. It's enough detail on the bee, and we see this flower in here and he's aiming towards it, so it's kind of telling us a story. I love this crop the most. The only changes that I would make if it were me, and I agree with you on the resolution, because that first one, the crop, there's not enough resolution there to hold up to that crop.
Right.
So you want to back off a little bit. This is probably about where you want to back off to. The cropping wise or compositionally, I would look at moving the bee or panning so that the bee is more over here. And because you're not showing the horizon or anything, you're free to rotate and do all those things because there's no point of reference that says this is the horizon or this is flat. The bee could be inverted for all we know.
Right.
But moving the bee over here to kind of this lower third intersection or rule of thirds intersection, and having the flower in the upper left uh, third intersection roughly would give us kind of that path of that visual path where he's going. Right now, because they're both skewed to the left, it's feeling left heavy a little bit to me, and this space over
Right.
here is kind of like, why is all this space in there? So if you move this guy over here or crop so that this guy's more over here, then it makes more sense, and it kind of feels more cohesive. And maybe throw a little vignette on there. I don't know why I'm in a vignette mood, but maybe throw a little vignette on there to focus us in on our two subjects. But other than that, it's great. You agree with that, Troy?
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think when you mentioned vignette, having scanned the images, I think there's several images in here that will say the same thing on, because they're realistically flat in lighting and depth of field, and compositionally they're flat. So vignetting kind of helps us create depth. Um, so what I was going to say too is, keep in mind what gear you're shooting with. Okay, I mean, I know that we've all poked fun at Micro Four Thirds and all these other things, right? And this is not meant to poke fun. Know the limits of your gear, meaning that if you're shooting with something that doesn't have the lens capabilities or the macro capabilities or the resolution to crop in a lot, then you have to fill the frame and get that composition in camera, or in this case in your phone. So try to think about that, try to pre-visualize your shot ahead of time, so that if you want to be closer to this B and you're shooting with a chip of a sensor, right, a tiny sensor, you have to fill the frame, you have to get closer. And since he couldn't fly anyway, or he chose not to go out that day, move in.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, fun shot. Thanks, Tabitha, for this, and thanks for participating in our critiques.
Yeah,
Loving seeing
definitely.
your work. Very good. All right. Next up is Paulo. Paulo says, since we had a macro theme already, I'm trying to stay on a bigger scale with this one.
I I just, oh my god, like there are so many things about this image that, one, are really repulsive, in the fact that there's a spider on this guy's head, which just
I was gonna
kind of
say
freaks me out.
you got a problem with male pattern baldness? Like, what's
Yeah,
going
right,
on?
like I do. The other thing is like, you took the time to photograph it and not tell the dude that there's a spider on his head. So either you're just, I'm not going to use any adjectives, or he's like a really good friend of yours and you're just like, let me show you this photo. Um
I mean, but to be honest, Troy, in Paulo's defense, that shot, yeah, could be literally half, maybe more, of the men in the world.
hey,
So we're, yeah.
I'm just
So
going to
in that
say,
case, it's anonymous, basically, right?
if anybody is ever hanging out with me and there's a spider on me anywhere, kill it. Just kill it. I don't care what you have to use. Raid, fire, not a
Sledgehammer.
flamethrower. Get rid of the spider, please. Don't
Yeah.
photograph it. It's not, yeah. But it,
I don't know.
um,
Some people would say spiders have feelings too, so you should gently move the spider off of the bald head into a more
mm,
accepting environment and let it be free to go live its life, right? I am not in that crew. I would say this is trespassing.
yeah.
trespassers trespassers, like I saw a sign the other day. It said, "We don't call 911." And it had a gun on it.
Oh, damn.
That's how I am with bugs that land in my personal space. I don't call
Yeah.
911 for bugs.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, like
Uh,
this shot, like, is it? This is like looking at it on its non. Okay, yeah, it freaks me out because there's a bug on the head and that can happen to us. But from a photojournalistic or street photography perspective, how would you rate this shot?
I love it. I think it's super clever. And to be honest, initially when I saw the thumbnail or the smaller image, I wasn't sure where the critter was. You know, so it took me a second to find it. And then once I found it, I was like, oh my gosh. So little hidden surprises are always wonderful. I
Yeah.
think the composition is great. The shallow depth of field is great. Really, the only thing that I wish we had in this image was an image on the guy's phone, that
Oh
of
yeah.
whatever he's photographing. And I do this a lot at weddings because everybody's taking photos with their phone, so you lean into that, and it's super fun to shoot the phone or pass them at the couple and then have this out of focus or soft image of them on the phone. So it really kind of ties the story together. That would be cool. But other
You think
than
it would
that,
be
I
worth
think,
it to composite a shot of, say he's shooting that fountain or structure or whatever that is in the background? You think it'd be worth it for him to try to composite a blurry version of that on the phone, or would that I mean, well, no, if he's trying to pass this off as photojournalism or, untouched street photography. But if this is, trying to be something else, like more artistic, yes, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it could be really cool. I mean, I was just at at several events, and I think it's neat to see people leaning into what they're doing and how they're using their phones, and seeing the apps that are open on their phones, and seeing the photographs that they're taking and how they're documenting that experience. So for me, that's very much part of the shot, and I really sort of wish that that black hole of the phone had sort of a purpose, right? That it was part of the story, had an element. Right now, we know it's a phone, and we assume he's taking a photo of something. He could be taking a selfie. Maybe Paulo doesn't want to see himself taking a picture of the spider on this guy's head.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting shot though. Yeah, really interesting. And again, Paolo, I'm a big fan of your signature framing with the caption
Yeah.
and your name in the frame and that kind of signature Kodak orange. I think that is. Love it.
And by the way, while we're espousing such wonderful wisdom and talking about these amazing images, the chat is having a long and complex discussion about how to spell and pronounce Henri.
So the chat is honoring. So it's Inception. It's
They're
Inception
ignoring.
in the chat.
They're just completely ignoring us. They're
Oh, good. It's a party. It's a party. We're like the comedy performers, the B-list comedy performers at a club where no one cares what's going on stage, right? And everyone's just
right,
drinking and
and
having a good
that's why they
time.
have a 2 drink minimum, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Please tip your servers, everybody in the chat. So, all right. Moving along here. What's next? Michael Brown. Hey, Michael. Gulf
Brown.
Frutillary.
Larry. Um, I really enjoy this image.
Me
I
too.
think that what's really wonderful is that super soft background. The color harmony in this image is really, really wonderful. Compositionally, I think it's fantastic. I would love to see a little bit more vignette, just to kind of bring us in on the butterfly a little bit more. And I worry that the oranges, or the sort of that red spectrum within the flower, is overexposing. And it's very common that our camera's overexposed to red. So I would watch that a little bit, maybe bring the tones down in there just a tad. Um, but the butterfly is exceptional and turned out really nice.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, and I think the main thing that when I first looked at this shot, it's the colors, right? So obviously the colors pop, and you'll get that flower, and then you see the critter on the flower and his little antenna sticking up.
Yep.
That the thing that I don't know. I want your thoughts on it as a professional portraitist. The streak of light from the upper left down to the bottom right that's behind there. I don't know if that
Hmm.
was put in there later in post, but it feels a little strong. Like it could be dialed back maybe 5% or something, because I don't the fact that I notice it makes me feel like it's a little bit strong. It's taking away from the power of that color of the stem and the orange and the butterfly and all that. Does it add or subtract, in your opinion, to this image?
I think that it takes away a little bit from the image. I don't dislike it though. I feel like it's an attention grab.
Hmm.
The one thing I do want to point attention to though is that it looks to me like this image was clearly masked, and the background was softened and or dropped in, and then the flower and the butterfly were sharpened. And this is fine on smaller images, but if you went to print this, uh, it's not going to look great because you're getting sharpening artifacts in the butterfly, and then the edges of objects are generally never super razor sharp, like you
Hmm.
get on that stem and stuff. There's always a little bit of fall off. So go a little easier on the sharpening and try to balance the image a little bit. But
Yeah.
I'm okay with the streak.
I think, and the only other thing that I would give, and this is feedback, again, this is great as is. But if I was to change, if I had the opportunity to change anything on it, I would. My OCD says rotate it slightly clockwise so that that stem is vertical. Uh, right, and
Yeah.
crop it so that rotate it slightly clockwise so the stem is vertical. I realize it's going to make the flower sort of tilt a little bit, and that's fine because I feel like that would add visual interest to this guy just landed on this precariously tilted flower, but the stem is straight. But and then an equidistant crop. If you're going with a square crop like this, either lean into it, I think, so that you're cropped in and there's equal space on the left and the right of the flower and on the top to the wings of the critter, so that you're punched in a little bit, and then again a little vignette on there just to focus us in on the butterfly because I want to see it. I want to see those, the detail in the flower, and then I'm curious about the face of this insect. What does that look like? And so I'm pulled out far, and I feel like back here, all these pixels are not really doing us any service. So if we cropped in a little bit, kind of like this, equidistant around it, then that would bring us
Hmm.
more into the flower and less this these wasted pixels. Not wasted, but they're not really servicing the story here, which is the butterfly lighting on this flower.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then
No, I
maybe
agree.
again another pinch of you know vignette salt on there just to kind of draw us in.
And this is a really good example of an image that looks really good, but is just needs a little bit of a tweak to make it what I think would be exceptional.
Yeah,
A little bit more smoothing in sort of the pixel layer, if you will. The over sharpening and the composition and sort of the subtle exposure in the flower and all the things that we talked about are just little things that really can bring an image like this
yeah,
home.
yep.
So
And Jim Peters in the chat says, there we go. He says the resolution of the butterfly in the feed is very different from the image in the community. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I'm gonna say that the one in the community is better than the feed because it's getting compressed a couple times before it hits your screen, Jim, over there. So yeah, and I guess that compression is going to reveal some things or reveal and suppress some things
Right.
or
Right.
otherwise just degrade the image in some
Right.
way. So yeah, so that's you gotta take that as that's just part of the game with streaming.
Yep. 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 Yep.
All right, cool, very nice. All right, thank you, Michael Brown. Next shot up is Karen Sweeney. Karen says you are being watched. Female spotted wolf spider with egg sac. Oh, it's just those
Could have left that
words.
out. Could have left
Egg
that out.
sac.
I
Oh,
love it.
but okay, here's the good part. It's a 19 frame photo merge. She took lots of shots laying flat on the ground, handheld and continuous high, and then edited it in Affinity Photo 2.0. This is shot with a Nikon D850 with a Sigma 105 macro at f16, with a shutter speed of an 80th of a second at ISO 200. That's a lot of work. Laying on your
Yeah.
back, keeping that thing steady, and then just, brrr,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah.
So
No,
kudos on that.
knowing how much work this is, Karen, and you know that we love you, but I hate to be critical of the shot. So, um,
But I'm going to.
uh,
That's what that
but I'm
is.
going to.
That's called
Yeah.
the sandwich, right? You lead with some complimentary bread, then you'll put in the criticism, and then you end with more complimentary bread.
It's not criticism. Criticism
This is
is
a critique.
unfounded. This is
It's
a
a cri-
critique. It's founded, I guess. I don't know what you
yes,
would
it
say.
is. It is constructive, as you were saying.
Um, so first of all, compositionally, tonally, and I think that it's a wonderful image. I think that at first impression, I really love where we're going with this image. The shallow depth of field, the foreground rock, the nice soft tone background. The green. I do think we need a little bit more light on the spider, who I'm going to name Sam. So we need some more light on Sam. And where the challenge comes in is the merging of your stack. Um, it's very obvious when you look at a stack that isn't blended exactly right. That as you look through the depth of field of the image of the subject, that you can kind of see holes where the layers didn't quite either merge manually or automatically. So you just really kind of got to get in there and fix that so it's more cohesive. I can see areas on the rocks where you've got this band of super super soft, and then immediately behind that is a little ridge of sharpness. But in front of that, it looks like there's an area of motion blur, and then it's just it's very abstracty in pieces of a spider rather than what looks like to be a cohesive image all the way through.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. I feel like we're just about. Would you say his name is Sam? Sam?
Sam, yeah, it's
Yeah,
Sam. It's because it's
Sam
not a
is.
scary name.
Yeah, there you go. Sam, Sam Xavier Sarsaparilla here is. Sam is about a half a stop underexposed, I think, which is easy, especially with the Affinity Photo, easily corrected, dialing that up a little bit. Yeah, the focus stacking, I don't have much experience with focus stacking, so I agree with you. I'm looking at it subjectively from a what is pulling me out of the image as a viewer. And yeah, the sharp line of bokeh right there is drawing me out down at the bottom of the shot. So whatever whatever you have to do to make it more natural, like follow Troy's instructions. But I don't want to be taken out of the image. And when I look at this image, I'm looking at these spiky, scary hairs on the legs, and the 50 million eyes and the mouth down there. I want to see more of that. And look at the head. Oh my God, it's like an alien. So I want to see that detail, so I would endeavor to pull out that detail more, even the detail on the legs. I want to see all that. I want to be creeped out if I'm looking at an image like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, pulling that out. This has that the sprinkling of vignette salt on it. So,
yeah,
but the reverse of that is the spider should be pulled out a little bit more, and then of course, like you said, a little bit more attention paid to the focus stack so that it's
yeah.
not
The
distracting.
stacking. Yeah, and this is where stacking is really hard. So when it's really well done, you can't tell that it's been done, right?
Yeah.
It looks as if this was a natural, like a 40 foot subject that you photograph with the proper depth of field, and it feels like it's all cohesive. But when you focus stack, you're getting little tiny slices on like this focal plane that are oftentimes in the weirdest and most inconvenient places to fix, but you got to just do layer by layer by layer. So um, I think I think you got the data there. Certainly worth going back and playing with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What about the presentation of the shot, right? So this one is one that's not necessarily telling a story with various compositional elements. There's one compositional element, that's our spider. But then the presentation is the framing, the border and the key line around it and all that. Is that adding to
Nice.
the shot?
I do. I think it's very nice.
Cool.
I think it's nice to see a finished image. I mean, I have an image that I put in here. I didn't finish it. I didn't have time, but I like seeing finished images. So I like the border. I think that Karen, I think you did a wonderful job on this. So
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Thank you, Karen. Wow. Critters.
critters.
All right, here's one that Phil. I know you're in the chat. This one gave me, I don't know, a little bit of the heebie-jeebies when I look at it. I don't know why, but
What?
yeah, just like all that life on a rock. Just I don't know what. And then the starfish on there. I just like have these nightmares of me being covered in these mollusks. Like,
Oh my! Wow, we went really deep on that one.
I'm serious. I mean, look, it's like the pirate, one of those Pirates of the
What
Caribbean
What does your therapist
creatures.
tell you about this?
Well, she says, "Let it go." That's my theme song for 2023, the Frozen "Let It Go" song.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no. Five
So what do
Finger
you think?
Death Punch. I'm a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
off.
that too. Five Finger Death Punch.
I'm a
Yes.
little bit off today. That's my song of the year. Um, I really like this image, and very much like a lot of Phil's work, it has a very emotive value, which I really appreciate. I think with this type of subject, though, as we've touched on, Phil's stuff before, is there's this challenge of what is the main subject that I'm to look at? What is the draw, right? What's the main hook, the secondary hook? Where's my leading line? I mean, even in abstracts, you kind of need that. And I really feel like, to me, the hero is the soft rock on the left with the two starfish. And I think the rest of it is really kind of drawing me away from that, because they don't have a huge amount of interest by themselves, and they're also the sharper and more contrasty dominant within the image.
Yeah.
So it's maybe you could reduce the values of those on the right, or you could crop out the right side of the image a little bit, and work with it. um, I think this is one of those cases where we have so many things in the frame that are competing, that we have to either find a way to edit them so they don't compete, or when we're shooting it, we have to think about those things so that we can edit them later.
Yeah. What's the story that you're trying to tell me as a viewer when I look at this shot, other than, oh, that's interesting? What's the story? So there's interest, and then there's the story that goes along with it. Like, looking at this one, I agree with what you said, Troy. Looking at this one, there's a couple of comments I have, Phil. So on the horizon, I feel like our horizon is a little bit tilted to the left, even if it's not. So, like we say in the image, even if reality is that you were standing and this is perfectly horizontal, when you're viewing it, no one's there with you. So you got to cheat reality and rotate it to the right so that it appears horizontal, unless you're going for that for some creative reason. But it feels like it's a little bit tilted, so I would tilt this back clockwise a little bit, so that this mountain range or these hills or whatever that is in the background is straight across. I love the processing. I love your processing style, Phil. This is just, we've already said it many, many times. I love how your body of work and the long exposures and all that. On the subject side of things, I agree with Troy. Like, so what is our subject in this shot? Is it, when I look at it, I think it's the jellyfish, or sorry, the starfish. So the starfish are
Yeah.
are the most colorful thing. Everything else is muted except for our orange-ish starfish in here. So with that, maybe either focus on, say, this mound here and zoom in if possible. Maybe not in post, because you zoom in too much, but zoom in on that to make that, even if it was like cropped like this, so that we have all this long exposure goodness and lusciousness happening, and then this crusty rock here with these orange starfish sort of popping out of there, even if it was a vertical. So you're cropping it kind of like this, so that we have the mountain range in the background, and then this guy in the lower left third of the image, and then do some
Hmm.
processing on there so these orange starfish pop out a little better. And then
Hmm.
when I look at the shot, I'm like, oh wow, this is a mystical location, and these starfish climbing up this rock, and they're popping out of there, and it tells me the story of what you're trying to communicate to me. Even this mound of mussels right here. So, something similar to that. Okay, the story is, even with this little orange starfish getting ready to climb up like his brothers over here, maybe that's the story. There's a bunch of different stories in this shot, but looking at it zoomed out like this, it's beautiful, but it's not really telling me a particular narrative or a story. I think if you punch in a little bit, we can pull little micro stories out of here. I don't know. Does that make sense, True?
Oh no, it makes perfect sense. And as you're describing it, I think just the articulation and the effort and the language that you're using really by itself exemplifies just this is a complicated image, right? It's busy, it's complicated, it takes a lot of time to explain what I like, what I don't like, right? And I think those are the things about images sometimes that make us love them, but have a problem with them at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Simple is often so much better. But one of the things I was thinking of, and I absolutely agree with everything you said, was that when you're out in the world and you're photographing this, it doesn't look like this.
No.
The waves are crashing, and you don't know how much of the softness you're going to get on a rock. And so you kind of have to really take these type of critiques and the ideas of what you want an image to look like and really work on pre-visualizing that when you're there. And hopefully you've got Frederick in your ear whispering like, crop a little more to the left.
I don't know. That'd be Troy. A little Troy with his beanie on, sitting on your shoulder. Sure, there's a little miniature Troy on your shoulder, snapping a Slim Jim while he's giving you photographic advice.
Yeah, not that way. Don't do that. That's not gonna work. Rotate that horizon. Watch out for that dust spot.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Someday cameras of the future will have that, right? So you're cropping. Soon as it detects a half press and you're about to take the shot, are you sure you want to do that?
Are you sure you want to take that photo?
I don't. You get like an AI with attitude in your camera. They would say something like, "Dude, if it were me, I don't know. You may like kind of shots like this, but if it were me, I would crop this. And show you a little visual representation of how it would crop the shot."
Yeah. Are you gonna be proud of that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you called your mother lately?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I love this shot. It's always a treat seeing Phil's work, though, for sure. I love this, Phil. I can't wait till your first gallery showing. It's gonna be amazing to see these blown up, huge, and lit in a gallery with people walking around with wine and cheese and all that.
Right.
Very nice. All right, Phil Lewenthal, thank you, sir. Up next, Nora Zanotna's Searching for Nectar. Aren't we all?
I don't know if I like it straight up or up sideways or upside down or
right. I think that's the point, though, right? So because ants don't really care about gravity much, this is perfectly acceptable for an ant. It could be inverted. She could crop this, or you could rotate this 90 degrees to the right, and it would still be right.
Yeah, I'm struggling with all the space on the bottom. First and foremost, I mean, I think many of you probably already know that that's where I was going to go, because negative space is a challenge for me sometimes, and I want to make sure that it has a sincere purpose and that it works. And I can see a reason for leaving it there, so it feels like the ant is up high, but I also feel like it's really kind of distracting because it's upside down. I know that the ant is up, right? So I'm really feeling like there's just so much greenery in here that is sort of distracting from the main subject. But that aside, I love this perspective. I mean, we know that Nora always has very interesting compositional elements. I really enjoyed this one. I like the fact that it's upside down, and it looks like there may have been some masking done on the right, done on the background around the stem and stuff, and I can see some weird little chunky artifacts happening there. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But aside from all of those things, Nora, I do love the fact that you've got this ant just kind of chilling right there, one antenna up. The legs are out of focus, so we're sharp on the body. I think that was a good choice. So I like it.
You're for the artifacts on the stem. Are you talking about like right here in this area?
Yeah. There's some masking or something that was going on there.
Interesting. Yeah, chromatic aberration. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I don't mind it. I like it inverted for one, because I think that adds interest, and I instantly know that it's an ant, and ants don't care about gravity. And then the space on the bottom. You know where my brain went? Like, okay, that's
text.
Yeah, this is a book cover about ants, and that's where the title of the book goes. And
I'm having an upside down day.
Yeah, exactly. A big sense. Yeah, or a motivational poster, right? At the bottom, you put, sometimes things just seem upside down, right? So that's it. I get what you're saying. To fix that, unless you're married to this square crop, you can just crop off some of that down at the bottom. And I think that would be, if you're not going to put text on there, just crop off this bottom piece down about right there. And our ant becomes kind of in the center. You can even leave enough space so that it's still heavy on the bottom, because I think that's where she was going. Like, this ant is precariously inverted above this, in the air or high, right? So we have all this space that if he lets go, he's going to fall down. Um, you could still accomplish that by cropping a little bit down here, I think. But
Yeah, and I know that Nora didn't do that by accident. I mean,
no,
knowing
nothing.
her images, she gave it a lot of thought. So
Hmm.
I say that with respect, knowing that an artist included that space on purpose. I, I'm personally, and as you're highlighting, is I'm kind of struggling with that space. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. But we're still on the image, so the image is working, right?
Yeah,
So-
I would also suggest a couple little things, right? Like the on the left, right above, right. Well, what we see right above the antler or the
Mhm.
antler, the antenna is a bump on the bottom of the flower, right? I would get rid of that. And then there's a little bit of like looks like a web or something on the right in that little triangle. Just those little details, even the leg that is showing on the abdomen of the ant,
Mhm.
which would be the opposite leg that we're seeing, right? It's kind of creating that bump above its body. I would
Oh, right here, this one.
no, on the abdomen, on the back.
Oh, down here.
Nope, on the bottom of the body, right? If you go
Oh,
down,
right
right there.
here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow, you are really in the pixels, aren't you?
Well, I mean, to me, those things because they're out of focus, and there's another one to the left that's just like a little black, line. We don't know exactly what they are, right? And
Hmm.
it's sort of interrupting the form of the body. There's no reason it needs to be there. A fraction of a second later, it may not have been. Um, so if you're going to refine an image as far as you can, think about those things, right? You can
Interesting.
take those out
But see,
and
you're
make
you're
the image.
giving artists permission to take that out. When I look at this, I instantly think, oh, that's just part of the critter there. Who am I to take out body parts of this critter, right?
You're the
So,
artist, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
if you were putting a brush on canvas, would you paint that stuff in there on purpose?
Right. Yeah. That's
You would think about it,
that's that
right?
little beanie Troy Miller sitting on your shoulder, right? Saying every paint stroke the old masters made was
Yeah,
intentional. Would they spend time painting this giant area for nothing when it takes 4 days to do it?
right.
Yeah.
And you may say yes, and then you put it in, and just like the little cobwebby thing in the top right corner, I could see a purpose for that, right? I could see somebody painting that in there on purpose, being like, I want to give this a real contextual element, so I'm going to put that in there. Great. Some of the other stuff, though, I don't think so. So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Cool shot, Nora. I love this. See? Now here's another lens I need to add to my lineup, the macro.
yeah, oh, it's a good
Goals, man.
lens.
Goals.
Goal.
Goals. Telling you, I told you my plan was to get that Nikon Z6 II, the 24 to 70, which I did, and then either the wide or the telephoto zoom is next, and then whatever I don't get after that will be the other one. So either the 14 to 30 or the 7200, and then I'll get the other one, and then we're good. I got the trifecta. Everybody's happy.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Next shot is Eric Pronsky. Dragonflies mating. These two actually flew around together like this for a while during their mating process.
Yeah. Wow. I'm
Talk about
I'm
gravity
pixel.
defying.
I know I'm pixel peeping right now. I'm like zooming in, looking at it. It's really nice. It's really really clean. And I
Hmm.
think that's not knowing what camera that he shot with or knowing what the resolution was, but I think this is one of those type of images where it has just enough sharpening. You don't see a lot of pixelation or any pixelation really or artifacting of being over processed. So I think it's really nice. The the um the dragonflies could certainly use a little bit more contrast in the
Hmm.
bodies.
Hmm.
uh and that twig, please burn down the twig a lot if possible. But other than that, super wonderful composition, nice clean background. I just very 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 clean, not no distracting elements. This is solid. This is really really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And how about that upper body strength of the one on the top, right? That's, could you, could you hang like that from a branch? Right?
Dude, definitely. Definitely.
After a mating session? I'm just saying.
They're not mating yet. We don't know.
Oh, that's true. I don't know. We
This is
have
the
no idea.
dance. They're just dancing. Yeah.
Yeah. So my only thoughts on this one was, yeah, I agree, that definitely burn down that branch, but I would extend that to the background as well. Maybe knock that down just a little bit, just to make our two co-stars pop out a little bit more. Other than that, everything Troy said, but knock it, especially that branch, knocking that branch down quite a
Yeah.
bit so that it's not. I mean, obviously we know who our subject is, but just sort of subconsciously that branch is very bright in there, so I would knock that back a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's again subjective. The background, I would want that knocked down just a little bit because I'd want those guys to pop out almost 3D-ish a little bit more, but not obviously, not obviously or overtly so that it's like, okay, that background was never that black. And it's got to be subtle because those wings are translucent, right? So
Right.
if you knock the background back, then the background that you see through the wings needs to match that background. So if you go too far, it's going to, ruin the illusion or give away that you've been there. And that's like you were saying before, that's if people know that you've done work on the image, you break the illusion. So it's
Right.
gotta
Right.
like plastic surgery. Like we always say,
Yeah.
the worst best compliment is, "Wow, your plastic surgeon did a great job on your neck." Like, who's your plastic surgeon? You don't want them to
Oh
know
my
that you
God.
had one, right? So,
Yeah, and in reference to the background that you're talking about, I'm getting a sense that, like, if you look at right where the two dragonflies are connecting, okay, the contrast there, the blacks and the colors are undersaturated and they're flat. Where if you go deeper into the wings on the bottom dragonfly and you go into the face and the body area, the upper dragonfly, they're more contrasty and there's more color. I'm thinking that, and I just have to guess. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking, Eric, that you did some dodging and burning on this image, and you probably bled some of your burning over the top or something of the center part of those dragonflies. Because if the bodies were contrasty and the colors were saturated, that would solve, I think, what Frederick has mentioned about bringing the background down, right, so that the
mhm.
dragonflies separate. So be really careful if it whether that's what happened or not. I'm not. I obviously I don't know, but keep an eye on that. But you want to bring up that contrast and color saturation throughout the bodies of your subject so that they really pop. I think it's lacking right there. Something's going on there.
Do you know? And I know
I do.
you're see. I know you're strong in the capture one, but the new object selection tools in Lightroom, Photoshop, and Camera Raw. Um, I wonder, does that change the equation? Like, can you just select these guys, or this guy and this girl, and manipulate them without having to, like, okay, I'm going to dodge and burn, but I don't want people to see where I overlapped and all that. You could very accurately select these subjects and do an inverse selection to get the background and do all your magic that way. With that, or but I don't know if that can handle this level of detail, or is it more meant for people, or I don't know. I haven't played
Um,
with it much.
I don't think it would work well for this. And the reason is even if it selected the dragonflies perfectly well, the wings are translucent. So
Yeah.
any contrast or color change you make is going to affect what is transmitting through the wings. So you have to be really, really careful of how you do that. If you were going to do any kind of selection in this, I would look at tonal range and I would look at color. So
Mm.
the warm tones you could definitely grab and add contrast to and add darkness to, separating that from the greens. I know you can do that in Capture One pretty easily. I don't know about the Adobe products, but just the overall general subject masking, yeah, I'm sure it'll mask them fine, but you got to be careful of that translucency because that's a big part of the reality of these dragonflies.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder, that'd be a good test on that raw file when you have all the data, Eric, to see if that object detection, because it's quote, AI is such a loose term that people throw around. It could mean anything, right? So I wonder if that quote AI was smart enough to know that, oh, these are, even down to the level of knowing that it's dragonflies, because my phone knows what I'm taking pictures of now, right? So if it's down to the level that, okay, there is a common color in these areas of the wings on this thing, and the background is in those similar tones, therefore I'm going to select that color and add transparency to it so that you have an accurate selection. I wonder if it's smart enough to do that yet. Well, I'm sure it will be in the future, if not now, but it would be interesting to see if it can handle that. And this
Yep.
would be the ideal subject to test it on translucent wings, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No
very
kidding.
cool. Very cool. Love it. So many
Thank you,
good
Eric.
critter shots. Good critter shots. Yeah, thanks, Eric. All right. And we've got Craig Stampley coming in with a wet critter. Look at that.
I love this one a lot.
Yeah, look at the light streaks. Yes.
And again, I really kind of want to lean into that idea that, simplicity is so, so, so powerful, right? Every time we add an additional element or we have an additional element included in our frame, we're adding the complexity and the challenge to make it part of the story. And to me, this is just so serene. It's just so wonderful. I just love it. I would love it more with less of the bottom of the image,
Mm-hmm.
just a
Yeah.
tiny bit,
Mm-hmm.
just a tiny bit. Still keep the turtle in the upper, and then I would love to crop a little bit off the top to get rid of some of those highlight streaks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's super nitpickery. I would also clean up all those little tiny specks in the water. I understand that it's underwater and that stuff is there, but I would definitely clean up some of those. But aside from that, right, this is to me, this is wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really great.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love the processing on this. I agree. A little off the bottom, a little off the top, but the simplicity I think is the key here, right? We've been kind of talking about that there during this whole critique, and that this one, as I see it, has what, four compositional elements in here, maybe loosely five. So you've got the bottom of the seafloor there as one. Of course, our turtle, our sea turtle, that's two. The abyss behind the turtle that's going off into distance, that's four, and then the ocean, the surface of the water from below at the top. There's a bunch of stuff that I would take out. Like, I agree. Like, there's, what are these things at the top here? These are a little bit distracting. But then
Hmm.
the last compositional element is, like I was saying before, those light rays that are coming down, which kind of,
Hmm.
yeah, it kind of gives you this feeling of, yeah, this is another world, and this is how the sun gets down to those guys, right? And does its thing underwater. But yeah, it's definitely a strong image. Would the in a image composition, would something like this, with the comments that you added, would this place, or would they kick this out?
Um, for me, I would maybe merit this image the way that it's presented. I would certainly suggest that those changes be made, and then I would merit this image very, very high. If those distracting elements were removed, right? If the specular highlights in the water at the top, the dots, the little debris, and then the highlights at the bottom, bringing that down so that the turtle pops even a little bit more. And then watching the exposure and the highlight on the turtle. But so yes, with all the changes and things like that, I would merit this very high.
Yeah, very good. Man, must be nice to have an ocean in your backyard, Craig Stampley. That's nice. Even if you're in Australia and everything in that ocean wants to kill you, but that's okay. All right. Coming up next is Jim Peters on the lookout. Here we go. That's awesome.
That is fun. That is fun. Yeah, this is one of those images that, as we were talking about, vignettes and, busy framework and busy scenes. This is one of those images that there is just so much texture and so much stuff happening in this image that it's hard to find a subject. The lighting is pretty much the same all the way across the frame. The depth of field is the same. The texture is the same. The color palette. It's really hard to be led, through this image in a compositional and storytelling way.
Hmm.
Um, so I struggle with that. For me, I see two real good images in here, and they're crops. So
Yeah.
crop the guy on the right, or crop the four, the four critters on the left. Crop in nice and tight, maybe go with the black and white, and then lean into some dodging and burning, and even some selective focus control in post, so that you can bring out your subjects. You
Mm-hmm.
know, right now we have the whole upper half of this frame. I don't see that it serves a purpose in this story. Um, I think we need to push in. We need to push in on our heroes, which are, the sunbathing iguanas.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say the same thing. I think that the group on the left is the strongest because it tells, even if this is not the case, but it tells a story of this guy as the leader, and these are the followers, or, this is the matriarch or patriarch, and these are the, the other ones down below. If you crop in like that, it kind of tells us that story. And these guys are almost automatically placed with a crop on the intersections of the rule of thirds right there. So
Right.
if you crop them appropriately, it looks, even if you crop this guy or Photoshop this guy out, you've got these two kind of looking longingly up here while he's kind of peering off, he or she's peering off into the distance. But I agree, all this data, this high frequency data of the ocean or the water and the rocks and all that, those pixels aren't really telling me the story. When I look in here and I find the prize, which is these iguanas down here, I want to know more about the iguanas. I could care less about these rocks in the water, right?
Right.
That's just the background. I want to see a tighter crop of just showing our little heroes there. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Exactly.
And then this one on the right is cool too because it's showing the length of this iguana with the tail coming all the way out here. So, even a horizontal crop on that one, kind of showing that, or even if you did a vertical crop with, showing the ocean so we get more of an idea of where he or she is sort of hanging out, would add to it. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot going on in this image, and like this, you're forcing me to choose what's important when the onus is on the artist or the photographer to tell me what they thought was important when they snapped this shot.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you. All right. Is that it? Show more. Oh, no, it's not it. Good. Oh, Troy Miller. Coming in hot. Coming in hot. Wheels up. What in the. What is this?
It's
Oh my
okay.
God.
So when you're out in the garage and you find a giant dead horsefly, in perfect condition, you photograph it.
This is how I like all
So
my horse flies, by the way. Oh.
I really just wanted this super bizarre, weirdo, abstract image of a fly, just with all the sparkles and the crystalline structures of water all over it. And this is kind of what I landed on, pun intended. Um, it- you know, I'm super critical of my own work, and there's a lot of distracting elements in here. From the highlights in the foreground and things like that. But I like I like it, and I put
Hmm.
this in here because I know that it has a lot of things that we could work on. But it's important that we like our work. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say. This is actually a stack of 15 images, by the way. So
Oh wow, wow. Well, I'm curious. What did you shoot this with? What lens?
this would have been the 105 macro, but I shot it
Okay.
on a D850. So
Oh,
this
okay.
was before my Z. Yeah.
Yeah, I think much like the previous image, I like this one as a whole. This is good. It's just creepy. Imagine this blown up huge on the wall. I mean, people would stop and stare and look at it and wonder what's going on here. All these little crispy details in here and the water droplets on the head around. That's just hopefully those are water droplets and not other eyes, but
Yeah.
it's creepy in a beautiful way. I love the color palette. This purple, feels otherworldly. This is really cool. I think if you had the data, there's multiple images in here, like abstract images that you could harvest out of here, right? Like the
Mhm.
this wing right here. Who knows what that is, right? If it's cropped in really tight, it just you never see anything like that, and especially this head. if you crop in close on this head, if you had the data to crop in close with these water modules or droplets on there, that just looks alien. I mean, it's insane. If you have the resolution, it's a D850, right? So you should have the
Oh, there's
resolution.
resolution. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you could crop in on that. I love the color palette. I also love the little Easter egg of your window in the eye right there. The window to your house. Is this in
It's
the
not a
backyard?
window.
What is that? A
No,
door?
no, no. That's an LED light panel.
Oh, wow. Okay. It looks like a
Yeah.
window. It looks like window shades.
Yeah, 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 and that was one of the things that I intentionally chose the LED light panel because I know that the what is it? I'm trying to think of what the type of eyes they have, but I figured well the
Compound.
dots compound. I figured the dots would kind of add in because normally I don't like seeing the dots of the LED light panel. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that you want to play with and get into the weirdness. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It
In the
definitely brings
body,
dimension.
and if the data's in there for the body, like underneath here, I'm getting lost in there. Like, okay, I want to see more data or a little bit more detail underneath the. I don't know. Is this an animal underneath the animal?
It's an
And
insect.
I know, but people call insects animals. Um, but and on the back here too, just to bring up a little bit more detail, because I'm getting lost in the blacks here, and it's a little bit muddy underneath here. I want to see a little bit more what's going on. I'm just curious. I want to see under the
Right.
skirt. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but this is cool. I like that. This is crazy. It's freaky. This is why we hate flies, because they look like this and they land on stuff and they lay eggs.
Yeah,
To
I was
make more of
leaning
them.
into abstract freaky. Yeah, so I'm glad I succeeded there.
Oh, it totally worked. It totally worked. I know a lot of people that would just love this shot. Very cool. All right, did I miss anybody? I think I got them all, right?
I don't think so. I think we got them all. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good shots. A lot of good. You have a favorite?
I have two favorites, and I'll let you pick between the two.
Okay.
I love Michael Brown's the golf fritillaри, the color harmony and the just the overall composition of that image. I really enjoy that one a lot. And then Eric Pronsky's Dragonflies. Um,
Oh, Eric Pronsky's. Oh, let me find that one.
yeah, they're very different, and I they both have I don't want to say issues, but they both have challenges with the image, right? But they're unique and they're wonderful, and they just really kind of stand out, but in very very different ways. So
Yeah, that's hard to. I think we should just go with both of them, because we do that occasionally, right? There's
we
occasionally
do,
we pick
yeah,
two. I think this is when where we pick both of those. Those are both
because we can't
favorites.
pick my fly,
No,
you know,
no,
but
no. That would be like rigging an election. No, you cannot do that.
come on, this stuff doesn't happen. Don't go there.
No,
No, we're done. That's the end of that comment. We're
you see how it just slides down that slippery slope right there. No, we can't go down there. All right, Jim Peters, thanks for coming in. Jim said he has to go in the chat.
Thanks, Jim.
Um, yeah, no, I agree. Both of these shots are fantastic. So we've got this one. That's Eric Pronsky, and then this guy
Michael
from Michael
Brown.
Brown. Yeah, yeah, I like that. Still, but Michael, just try to rotate it a little bit to the right, counterclockwise, counterclockwise, and crop a little bit of this left off so that we have the same amount of space here, and we're on that side and up here.
We're in the wrap up segment. We're done critiquing. I don't know what you're doing.
I know. I'm just talking. I'm just talking. I like it. I like it.
I do
Well,
too. I
cool.
do too.
So we have another. So here's some news, by the way. Our friend Jake Hicks, whom I've interviewed, our resident gel master Flex, has agreed to join us for a future critique.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he suggested the topic of what did he say? Well, he wants to do colored
Black and
gels.
white.
Yeah, exactly. He said anything but black and white and no borders. He was specifically about no borders. But No, he wants to do one on. Well, he wanted to do one on colored gels, right, or colored gel portraiture specifically. But obviously realizing that not everybody has access to strobe. Well, colored gel portrait and artificial light. So strobe, gelled strobe portraits. Not everyone has access to strobes or gels or has the inclination to get that stuff for a critique. So we backtracked it to yes, gels, but it could just be portraits. So he wants to do a portrait and sort of creative posing type critique and portraiture type stuff. So we'll schedule that. We haven't nailed a date because we're kind of right in the middle of holiday season here. So we haven't nailed a date yet. So it'll be within the next couple of weeks or so, and I will let you know. You'll know if you're a member in the events area inside the community. But that's the news for that. So that's coming up. And hopefully that'll be the first in a long string of special guest critiquers that join us for these critiques, which should be pretty cool. That way I can just sit back and you guys can fight it out. Uh, so that said, for our next critique, which is going to be Monday, the 12th of December, that's our open general critique. And then our next formal critique will be on December 19th, a week before Christmas. So, any topics for that one?
Ooh, books.
Books?
Books.
In holiday season, they seem so boring.
Well,
But not everybody celebrates that holiday. So, yeah.
It would have been too obvious to pick a holiday anything, but I'm thinking books. Right, we all have books, photo books, any kind of book. So you got to think about like how you would photograph that book. It doesn't have to be a book photo, but it has to be a photo of a book, right? Something book pages. There's a lot of elements in a book that you can work with, from the words, the spine, the all kinds of creative stuff. So
yeah,
should be
no,
easy,
absolutely.
and it's something everybody has.
Yeah, absolutely. My dad gave me an old Bible. So I have this like, it's got to be like I don't know, 100-year-old Bible that's kind of like needs to be rebound. So I may do some shots of that and submit those in there. I was actually at we have this store in the United States called Michael's, which is kind of a framing shop, arts and crafts and all that. So I was in there looking for a display case for it. So I'm like, maybe I'll open it, to, a passage or something and then mount it and put it in this sort of,
That
clear
deserves
glass
a
case.
custom built case.
Do you know anybody that could build a case like that? I mean, if I had a friend that had a man cave, back cave, Iron Man garage that could build something and the skills, then, maybe I'd tap and do it. But so
Look,
wait, let's
like an affinity stone. Look, it's like a
yeah, look at that. There you go. But yeah, that'll be good. So books is good. Yeah. So be thinking. So for the next one on the 19th, we'll do books. If Jake Hicks can't do the portraiture critique on the 19th or the gelled portraiture critique on the 19th, which will be all of us, then we'll do books then. If not, we'll push one off to the 2nd of, man, that's next year. Holy crap.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
fast.
God. Yeah. You know what? Let's just do this. I'm making a command decision right now. On the 19th, let's do books for sure. I will schedule that. And then on the 2nd of, January of 2023, we'll kick it off with the group critique with Jake Hicks and do all the good stuff. So that way people have time to do portraiture shots over the holidays and over New Year's and all that stuff. And then we can kick it off right. So, and there may even be a prize or two in there. So, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we didn't get a chance to catch up before we end this. How are you doing, man? What's been going on? We haven't chatted in a couple of days.
I'm done shooting my weddings for the year. I'm done with my family and all my shoots for the year. I've done most of my editing. I got a little bit of editing to do. So right now, I'm practicing the guitar as much as I can.
Nice.
Just trying to enjoy the quiet. Calm.
Five finger death punch. Can you play us out with some 5-finger death punch on the
No,
guitar?
no, I can't. I am.
How about some sounds of silence, Paul Simon? Come on.
No, I will tell you this, and this is very photo related. Trying to learn the guitar, trying to get into the guitar, and trying to understand just what questions I need to ask really kind of helped me to kind of think about, what are photographers that are learning their craft struggling with, right?
Hmm.
From my perspective, it's so simple. Um, what you should be asking, or maybe what you should be focusing on, or how white balance works, or whatever, right? But when I grab the guitar and I'm like, okay, I need to practice today. What do I practice? What do I go look up? What do I go study? The challenge is real. Learning a skill.
Yeah, no, no, but it's good. That's the journey, right? I would love to see you, and I don't know if you're into this, but I would love to see you create a set, right? Because you do some abstract type pottery stuff, and sometimes you photograph it. What if you created a short soundtrack or song or even a medley or something to go along with that creation? So you have this set of here's the sound that I think of when I look at this thing that I created in pottery that you're looking at as a photograph.
Oh my
Just saying.
god, so many.
Yes. Yeah, it's called multimedia, right? So now you have this whole thing when, I mean, you can even narrate it. I mean, you can even create a short story. It'd be amazing. Do it.
Hmm.
If you are
Okay,
into it
that's
in
what
the
I'm.
community, comment. I mean, well, like and subscribe, but then comment and let us know if Troy should create a pottery piece that he then photographs and creates either a soundtrack or some other narrative that goes with it that is, thought provoking in
Hmm.
some way. Uh huh.
Now that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, do it. Do it. And that gives you something to practice on instead of like playing other people's crap, right? Just like make your own that goes along with your photographic powers and your pottery powers. It's the wonder triplets. Right?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, make it happen, Captain. All right. We will leave it right there. Jim Peters says he agrees with our picks. Thank you, Jim Peters. And congratulations goes out to Michael Brown. And who is our other one?
Eric.
Eric Pronsky. Yes. Very cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for participating. And remember, a week from today, that critique will be open general. So come on in. I promise to get the scheduling right this time. Come on in, just hang out informally in Zoom, share images, and we'll just talk about them and share notes, etc. It'll kind of be like a member mixer, but image focused. And then a week from that, the second of the year, 2023, if Jake Hicks is available, which hopefully he will be, we'll do our portraiture colored gel critique. You guys that'll be a great conversation between you guys because you guys both approach portraiture differently. You're more on the consumer, direct to consumer side, and he's more on the, abstract fashion, beautiful woman, scantily clad colored gel side of things. So it should be interesting. It should be an interesting conversation because you both intersect on f-stop, shutter speed, ISO, and composition, right? So should be very
Yep.
cool. All right. Excellent. All right, Troy. Thank you for doing this, even though we had a little bit of a rocky start, as we always do.
Yep.
And we will see you, we'll see everybody in the next critique and then also at our member mixer on this coming Friday. So
Yep.
take care, everybody. Thanks for watching this
All right.
video, and thank you for putting up with our laughing and giggling and bad dad jokes. Appreciate it. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Nice. Take care, guys.